Hello there, this is Roberto Matthews with the final video in my series of toggling. This last video, while more complicated, I'm much more excited to talk about because it's a way to make your mobile-friendly sites more accessible also. It's just another way to make a nav button. So basically, we have a little responsive site here, and everything works just fine. We have our little responsive site, but what I'd like to have happen is when I get below a certain amount, so for example 450 pixels, I change this top navigation to a mobile navigation. Now in the past, what I've done is just erase this and put menu over here, and when I click on it, a slider slides down from up here. But what I would like to do is when I click the menu button, that it changes to a close button, and that the menu will pop up from down here just like a mobile menu does when you see a mobile menu. Okay, so let's begin. So the first thing we have here is this is our regular site here, our site menu. I've already styled it all out and everything, so that's fine. We're going to be mainly working on our @media screen code here, and @media just means that when the actual media becomes a certain amount, then or certain width, then it's going to change whatever under here. Okay, so if you want more information on that, just look up @media questions on Google and it'll give you some information. However, if you'd like me to give you a tutorial on that, just let me know in the comments below. Now, before we begin, I want to add something to my CSS. I'm going to link to a certain library so that I can get little icons. So I discovered this little icons area that Google gives, which is really awesome. Basically, in order to add it to your site, you just give this link in your HTML page and then make sure that anything that you want to have the icon is going to have this class. So basically the way it works is you have, for example, if you have material icons and then cloud, you have this cloud icon, and then of course you could size it and you can style it any kind of way you want, which is awesome. So if you want a reference to all of those, you come here to w3schools.com and you have a whole bunch of libraries. This Font Awesome library is exactly what it says. It's pretty awesome, and there's a Bootstrap one, but the one we're going to be using is the Google one, and you can do a search for the type of icon you want, and here's a plethora of icons that you can use. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and go to our icon intro here, select all of this, copy it, bring it back over here, come to the top of our HTML here and paste it in. So now this library is in use. We can use this library very well. So as an example, we're going to come over here to the title area here, and we're going to make a div with the class of material icons. And inside we're going to put the word home. And as you can see, the home button comes up right there. We can put here money, or let's see, let's use one of these here. So we come to the icons reference here. We select Google. We look up home. This is the one for home. We can also look up money. So we can say the word attach money here, copy. And if we change this word to attach money, then the money symbol comes up. So it's a really cool way to add icons to your sites, and you can style it any kind of way you want. Okay, so we're going to be using that for our icons for our mobile version. Okay, so back to our area here. let's talk about what we have. So as you can see, we have the entire label set up here. The entire label is set up with our checkbox, etc. And it's not showing up because earlier we put our main phone nav, which is what this label is called. We put our main phone nav as a display none. So if we put display block, here's the entire code here. Okay, so here are all our icons and stuff like that. Okay, so we're going to say none, and now we're set up. Okay, so now when we go to our at area here, when we get to 450 pixels, we want our navigation bar, everything in our navigation bar to not show up. So we're going to say nav display none. So now when we get to 450, there's no navigation bar. Okay, so then the next thing we want to have is, like we said before, we want everything in here to show. So we're going to have main phone lab, display block. And now we have our main phone nav displaying right here. Okay, very good. So now after we have our situation here, we're going to put in all the information for our main phone nav. So let's go ahead and do that. So now, as you can see, here's our phone nav set up. When we go any bigger, it goes back to here. When we go here, let's change this to blue. Okay, so now we have a nice blue navigation bar. Here are all of our icons. We kind of need that to be fixed, obviously. So the next part is that we're going to remove this click here, because when we click, obviously this is what's going to happen. This is our toggle. So let's go ahead and remove that. So now our input has been gone. So the next thing is our Sites by Bert logo. Let's go ahead and put that in. So the Sites by Bert logo is called mobile logo. And I have the information for that also. Now it's over here. Very good. So next, we've added two classes here. Obviously, we want our button class and our close class. So let's call this open, and let's call this close. So our close class and our open class. So basically, when we get to our open and close class, we want to, let's make them both have a little bit of padding. So let's go to button, I'm sorry, open, our open one and our closed one. Let's say padding 10. That way they actually have a little bit of padding away from the corner here. And then, so our next step is to actually hide this close button here. So if I say close, display none, nothing happens. And the reason that is that it's kind of too far up in our CSS. So what we need to do is actually be a little bit more specific. So we're going to say that, what is the name of this here? Main phone nav here. Now it's closed. Okay, so it's not showing up. Very good. So next, we're going to say the actual phone nav here. So all of this right here. So inside the phone nav div, we have all of our links. Okay, these are where all of our links are happening. So let me break down what's going on here. So inside our box, our phone nav box, see there's nothing there. We have each one of these links, okay, which is going to each one of our pages. And inside the link, we have our icon and the actual name of the icon, okay? So what we're going to do is that in the phone nav itself, which right here we can't see them, but that's where they are. In the phone nav itself, we're going to put some information here. Okay, so as you can see, what we did was we positioned it all. Let me bring this over here. Okay, so we positioned it all absolute. We brought it to the bottom. We brought it to the left. So it's not going to show up unless we're in our mobile area. And the width was 100%. So it's pretty much mobile here. Sorry, pretty much flexible here. And we gave it a Z index to make sure that it's on top of everything. Okay. And what we need to do is make the position, instead of absolute, we need to make the position fixed. That way, as we move our page up and down, it stays in one position. We also need to make this fixed so that when we go up and down, we have our position. So our mobile area here, our mobile phone nav, so we need to make sure that this right here has a position of fixed too. And of course, we got to put it to the top and to the left. There we go. So now we have our top and we have our bottom. Okay, very good. So after that, we're going to do all of our links here. So let's go to the phone nav and we're going to style all of our links. So let's go ahead and do that. So now that we have our menu all set up here, the next thing we're going to do is we have to make sure that this bottom is 0 and this left is 0 for now, so that we can work on our menu, because otherwise it's going to disappear once we do our CSS styling. So let's go ahead and style this here. So as you can see, this is our situation. Okay, so what we have here is we have the width 24% so that we can have, you know, equal on all sides. And then we have all the normal, we have an inline block so they could be side by side. We use our font family of Arial Narrow so that we can have some nice logo, some nice tags here. And then we did the background a little lighter blue so we can see these side lines. And then our padding is about 5px. Now, to remove this last line is really simple. You're just going to target phone nav A, but you're going to target the last child. And within that last child, you're going to say border right, none. And now that last child doesn't have any border. Okay, so now we have our top menu, we have our bottom menu all set up. Now comes the functionality. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to see what happens when we click on our area here and see if the functionality is actually working. So we always make sure that everything is working just fine. So what we're saying is that when the input is checked, that let's see, here's the input, that the mobile logo, let's just say that the mobile logo, the color is red. Okay, so It would help if I could spell correctly. Let's see. And now we know that our toggle is working correctly because it's affecting our mobile logo here. Okay. So the first thing we're going to work on is the actual height. We want this to come up and down when, excuse me, when we click on it. So we're going to affect the actual, the phone nav here. Let's see here. We're going to, yes, our class phone nav. So phone nav. And we're going to say that the bottom is 0. Now, we already have our bottom as 0 right now. So we have to say that our bottom is, let's see, let's try -20. Nope, that's not enough. -30. Getting warmer. -40. Getting warmer. -50. And it looks like maybe 55 might be enough. Okay, so that brings it right down underneath the viewport here. And so when we click it now, it animates up and animates down. So we're nearly there. We're nearly there. The only thing we have to do now is make this button be the close button. Okay, so now we're going to say input checked. Now we're going to affect this class open and class close. I changed it so that instead of being regularly positioned, I positioned it absolute, and I positioned it to the right and to the top. And I gave my main phone nav a padding of 10 pixels so that everything could be nicely centered. And but the difference is on my open and closed here, I'm going to give it a transition of 0.4 seconds. And we're going to change the close to opacity 0. Since they're both positioned absolute, they're right on top of each other. And so when I click on the toggle, my dot open, which is my menu button, and my dot close will switch. So the opacity for dot open will be 0, and the opacity for dot closed will be 1. And you'll get this effect. Nice little transition effect while this is going up and down. So, and there you have it. A nice little transition effect that you can do for your mobile phones. Now I set it to 450 pixels wide. And of course, I'd have to test this on some other phones. For example, the Samsung Note, which is a lot wider, but I'm not quite sure how wide it is. I would have to, look up those specs and then set that up. So here's my regular site. And when it gets to the lower widths, it works out like this. And when they click on the menu, they get all of our links just like this. And it works out pretty well. So thank you for taking the time to listen to this tutorial. Hopefully you were able to listen to all of the tutorials. But if you only did cafeteria tutorials, that's fine too. I'm glad you liked it. Let me know if I can do any other tutorials for you. I'd be more than happy to do it. Have a great day.